Mr. Gassert, we are live. We
We're,
are live.
we are applauding. We are clapping. We are
I got a
every.
good laugh, huh?
Yes, it was one of those days today. It's the day after Mother's Day.
Yes, I hope everybody is grateful for having mothers and
Oh,
what they meant to us. And
like I said, if we didn't have a mom, none of us would be here, right?
that's
So,
it.
you know, got to be thankful for that. They're the individual that gave us life.
Well, it depends. It really depends on what your social gender is. You're
Oh, stop. Here we go.
still trying to figure out how a man can have a baby.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm a 65-year-old black woman. That's how I identify here this evening. You know, now we're not going to get into all that. But with that said, Mother's Day, hope everybody had a great one. If your parents are still alive, I hope you had time to at least call them, send them a card. Uh, Pretty simple to do in today's age and technology. There are a lot of ways you can interface with people. And if you're orphaned like Tom and myself, we don't have parents. So, I spent time with my wife yesterday and all that other fun stuff. And it's kind of cool. We did some things Saturday night as well.
Wonderful. Sounds like you had a good time and meaningful time. And yeah, my mother has passed. So 12 years ago, got a little shrine set up out in our front room with her out there, pictures of her and that type of thing, and just said thank you. Grateful
Right.
that you were my mother. She taught me so much.
Yeah,
So,
you ever think about that? What you learned from your parents, particularly mom? I think the one thing that I learned from her is patience. Man, she had to have patience to raise three people. I think my brother and I gave her fits sometimes. I can still see my mom when she thought she'd have a quiet moment. She wanted to watch some of her shows, you know, um, and I'm not going to list them because that'll really date me. And then I'll get into another bout with my son about, well, you're not socially aware of today, um, which by the way, their high school had a lockdown, so I got to ask him what actually happened. I mean, this
when
is
today,
yeah, it happened today. I don't know what it was, but it's just kind of crazy out there in the real world. What's happening? So it was different.
well, we do have somebody on here that's loyal to us and checking us out again, and hopefully he'll
Oh, Robert
communicate with it.
Brooker,
Robert Brooker, how you doing, buddy?
the Brooker man.
Appreciate you coming on. Tag and share out there. Tag
Robert,
and
now that
share.
you're here, I know the world is safe, and I know Canada's rocking and rolling. So I know you're in good hands. And hello back at you, brother.
Thank you,
Um,
sir. Appreciate it. Well, Mark, I'll let you explain a little bit why we do what we do. We don't have one
sure.
specific genre that we're going to talk about, but today we're going to be talking something that can relate to in all aspects of our life. Just understand what social awareness is, but specifically in business. And we
Right.
just came up with this morning. I'll let you tell that story here in a second. But we just wanted to take different ideas and thoughts and just have conversation, shoot them out there, get some feedback
Right.
from everybody out there. There might be something here that we talk about to have you go, gee, I need to know more. Or, that was like to learn more, whatever the case is, or I didn't know that, or whatever it is. Hopefully,
Right.
it's something that's meaningful and is value to you. And so I'll just turn it back to you, Mark, and share why we're talking about social awareness in business. How that came
Yeah,
about.
that's a great point. Thank you, Tom. Just real quick, how this happened. Had a conversation last week with my younger son, and actually yesterday we picked up on it during our Mother's Day lunch about being socially aware. So I was sitting there going, what the hell are you talking about? I'm not socially aware. Well, from his perspective, and he's a lot younger than me, obviously, means like recognizing and understanding what's happening around you on a social level, emotional level. And Tom and I are going to get into this in the business end of things with individuals, groups, and situations. It involves reading people, understanding dynamics, and responding appropriately. Now, maybe sometimes we don't always respond appropriately, but Lord knows I've seen a couple things out there on umpiring. My goodness, some of the things I've been witnessing with parents berating and going ballistic. That's subject matter for another day. But so it just kind of like dug in my side a little bit, like, well, how am I not socially aware? And everybody's approach to this is different. And I'm socially awkward. Yeah, Eric, bam. That's right. It's the best way to be. So, and I almost felt like, well, what? Do I have to fit inside your cookie cutter? And and I was told that when I mention things from, say, the 60s, God forbid, or the 70s, that kind of defines me as I'm not equipped. But when you're talking about primo athletes, like, and I'll say it so someone can say, who are they? You can Google them. Phil Russell or Wilt Chamberlain, I saw in the flesh live about age 12. I didn't even know what I was looking at. Or Sandy Koufax, Don Drysdale. I didn't even know what I was looking at. I was looking at greatness, man. And that's important. And, so I feel like, no, I was socially aware at that moment and at that time, and I still am. But that's how this all started. So Tom and I took it to the next level on business, and I've been seeing more things too about people that work for companies, and you're going to be put on a performance improvement program, and you're going to be let go. And AI, we talked about last week, Tom. AI is going to get rid of your job, and it's hilarious, the stuff that you hear, which I don't always buy. There are people out there that bang the drum on those things, and I think it's a matter of how you approach it. Yeah, social awareness, the ability to accurately read, understand, and emphasize emotions and perspectives and needs of others, including those from diverse backgrounds. I get all that. I'm for all that, you know. And with that goes the responsibility of those that want to be understood, that they reciprocate. That's where I struggle with some of this, Tom, and maybe you can help me out on a social level. There has to be a certain amount of understanding. It can't always be, you don't understand me. And
yeah, being combative and confrontational, and
right. It's okay for me to beat you down and say, when you tell me the truth, Tom, that's hate speech.
Yeah.
I can't stand hearing that word, hate speech, because that's false evidence appearing real. That's someone that doesn't want to face up to their responsibilities. I mean, if you want to unveil the truth, or as they say, take the Band-Aid off the scab and get into it, then let's get into it. You got to be truthful to yourself and to others. Everybody talks about authenticity and accountability, and transparency. Those are neat buzzwords, but do you really mean it? Because when you start talking those things with me, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire, and you're going to have to show me.
Yeah. I think what we've had in our social awareness is that we've had a breakdown of how humans communicate and that type of thing because of this device right here.
Yeah.
Device, and I think that, science has shown it. People like your company that teaches sales training and personal development and all those type of things. We've lost the ability to really communicate with people.
Right.
And we're looking for AI answers. Here's my question. Here's my point of view. Do you agree or not disagree? And if you disagree, they slam you. Or what do they call that?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's you are absolutely correct.
So we've lost the ability as a culture to really how to communicate with another human being. But call that emotional intelligence. In business, it's about relationship. How do you build a relationship? Yourself being authentic, being patient, being, having empathy. We hear that all the time, the capacity to understand and share the feelings of another person.
Right.
Perspective taking, considering the viewpoints of others, even when they differ from your own. That's important. I think that's really breaking down. If you don't think the way I think, I'm going to slam you. Reading the room when we're in a recognize verbal and nonverbal social cues. What would you do if you're in a room of all purple-haired Karens? We got to understand what's going on there. That's a whole different culture, and being able to read the room. Organizational awareness, understand the social, environmental, and cultural dynamics within a community or a workforce. You work for somebody, you're going to have different races, you're going to have different religions, you're going to have different social upbringings, all those different things.
Right.
Form an organization. You got to be sensitive to them to be successful, and blend in, I guess is the best way to put it. Cultural competence, understanding the perspective, cultural differences. And I think that's where we're having some issues today. What do they call the young people today that, I'm a baby boomer, born between 1946 to 1964, whatever, born in 1950. So what's the young culture? What are the young people today that are in their 20s? What do they call them? I don't even know. I don't even care. But there's a whole different perspective how they view the world, for sure, right?
Yes. And they evolved from technology. They're well, in the 20s they would be considered Gen Z. If that's what you're asking me.
Yeah.
They would be part of the Gen Z. And I don't like putting labels on people. I like boomers, and I get it, but I get so tired of hearing about it. It's almost like they put you in this box. And when you say boomer, and when you start hitting numbers of age, some people are like, oh God, he's old school, or he's this, or he's that, and they get all geeked up about it. It's like they think you can't relate and hold a conversation with people younger than you. And I beg to differ because of what I also do on the side, because I'm around people half my age that umpire, and it's a lot of fun being around them. I learn a lot from them, and likewise, different perspectives. I did want to say something about Eric, maybe if he's still out there, but in his business, he's got to be able to engage with all walks of life, internally, because of what he does. And then now you take it to the next level of reaching out to potential customers or existing clientele that you have to further develop your cause, your mission, your purpose. It's easier said than done.
Sure.
Because everything that you and I are talking about, people can go out there and find this. This is nothing new that we're sharing with everyone. I mean, they can go check it out, and whatever AI platform you want to use, and it'll tell you.
Yeah, like I stated earlier when we started out, is that we've lost the ability to communicate with people. And we rely on technology, which has great value in itself, but it's not another person. The importance of social awareness. It really improves relationships. If I have more empathy and a better understanding of, let's take you live in Georgia.
Right.
It has a whole different cultural perspective of the worldview than Wisconsin and Madison. You personally, you grew up in Pennsylvania, right? So you have
Correct. And some of those values are still with me. Yeah.
Yeah. So those values were instilled into you from your parents, your mom and dad, which would be different than my mom and dad's perspective of the worldview.
Sure.
So not everybody has exactly the same point of view or understanding. And then it comes to, the personal things. What's your views on ethnic issues, political issues, religious issues? Those things are all cultural. We need to be aware of them and not be judging. Except I got to accept, Mark, your faith.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not Greek. I'm not a Greek Orthodox, but I am a Christian and I have my beliefs on it. But I'm going to listen to what you have to say about it because I can learn something from anybody in and around that topic, say religion. Same with politics. If no one person has all the answers. No one party has all the answers.
You mean Trump doesn't have all the answers? Oh darn! I'm kidding.
But there's certain things that we look at
where he does, but sorry, he doesn't.
He's one that understands communicating with other people, the art of the deal, understands where they're coming from.
Right.
He's always working on building better relationships with his adversaries.
Yeah.
But they don't hear him.
Right.
But you talk to anybody that hears him, they say he really cares about other people.
Right. And
so,
we're talking about, I mean to interrupt you, Tom. We were talking about Gen Z. Well, now what my son's teaching is Gen Alpha. These are the high school kids now. Gen Alpha.
Is that like a mad dog or something like that?
I don't know who comes up with this crap, but it's funny. And that's a whole different litany of personalities. And I told you I went to my son's spring game, and I sat there and I looked at my wife and she looked at me because we knew the school, and I'm not going to mention it, but high school has definitely changed since my two boys have graduated and moved on. And I just went, OMG, I am so glad I'm not a parent of any of these kids, because I don't know what I'd do. It's just different. And even my son says they will walk into you and won't say, excuse me.
Yeah, like I say, we've had cultural breakdowns, the importance of understanding manners, respect, honoring our seniors, just from a cultural perspective. There was no way when I was growing up I'd ever not address somebody by Mr. or Mrs.
Right.
There was no way that I would not be reprimanded or disciplined for being disrespectful. I'd have that meeting of the belt in the back behind the garage. There's consequences of misbehaving. Now, anything.
Wes Wyatt, hello. Thank you. Sorry you have to bounce, but hey, man, thanks for hopping on, Wes. I catch your post. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Tom, on LinkedIn. Always good to see you, my man.
Yeah, Wes, I hope you're doing better and doing well. Continue prayers for healing. I know you've had some challenge there with health, so we're aware of that, and we continue to pray for you. And we thank you for jumping on and saying hi. Hi back at you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Tom, but as you were talking about saying respect, I call people even younger than me that are in charge of things, or even when I meet them at church, newer people, yes, sir, no, sir. It's just how I roll, ma'am. People look at me sometimes like, man, I'm younger than you. You don't have to call me sir. That's just how I was brought up, man. It's just, it's out of respect.
And in different areas of the country, that's part of their culture, especially in the South.
Right.
I noticed that when I was growing up, there was a whole different language pattern in and around how you communicated around adults. When
Right.
I have a great kid, when I was a kid, my best friend at the time, his parents moved to near Biloxi, Mississippi, and I went to visit one time. And when I was 17, and I had a cultural shock. I'm from California, so maybe I'm part of the problem too. Coming from California, but
Well, see, now that's different too, because it's more laid back, and I had to learn that I work with different clientele from the West Coast, and they get the job done, but it's not the way I would approach it, but it still gets done, and that's the goal. Um, and that's hard for some people that like to have their thumbprint on everything. Sometimes you got to let go, turn it over to the people, and they'll surprise you.
yeah.
And
I'll just make a point here, just crossed my mind. Better leadership allows leaders to understand the needs of their team, boosting
sure,
morale and performance. I think it's important in the cultural awareness is understanding every human being, Mark, throw you in there, you're a human being, is we all want to be seen. Do you hear me? And do you care? So if we're culturally aware and incorporate those three principles, we can build stronger relationships, better teams. And when we change those attitudes, not changing attitudes so much, but when we demonstrate that we seeing you, hearing you, and we care,
right.
you're going to get a different level of commitment and performance out of your team. Just like Saban, right? At one point, he was a kick you in the ass coach, right?
Right.
When he really kicked into his success as a coach, it was all about caring about his players, right? We saw that video about him.
Right. No, and he mentioned that he's changed. He's still disciplined and consistent, but he now looks at a player and how can I help you, Tom? What do you want to do? And then he'll use that as a reinforcement, like, I want to graduate, get my master's degree, or I'd like to make an attempt and see if I can get to the combine and take a shot at the NFL. And he'll use that as a tool and a mechanism to help people, not use it.
Motivational tool or
Sure. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yes, it's interesting. And I think that is the biggest thing there. And it all goes back, I call him the master. Zig always said, you help other people get what they want. And that's kind of your philosophy. And people will see if you're sincere or you're a phony, And some of these things that I've read on LinkedIn about jobs and all this, I understand what they're telling me or sharing with me. I'm not making fun of it, but it's kind of like he said, she said, that type of deal. And I'm like, man, if I was in that type of environment, I wouldn't stay too long. But where you're constantly worrying if you're going to have a job.
Yeah.
And that's not a good environment to be involved in.
The social importance of social awareness, the conflict resolution. When we don't see things the same way, or there's a leader that ultimately has to say the buck stops with me, but that person that can understand the other person's point of view, but still stay in control goes a long way. So conflict resolution. And in conclusion with that creates just an environment that is respectful and inclusive.
Right.
It goes back to, do you see me, do you hear me, and do you care, right? Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. It's and the one thing I've learned, Tom, and maybe someone might disagree, but you know how they always say, treat people the way you want to be treated. I understand that, but that's not always true. You got to treat people at where they're at and the way they want to be treated, not the way, like I want to be treated. That's how I treat everybody. And that's about reading the room, because we're all different. We all have different characteristics. There are people that are animated. There are people that in a room, they're domineering. They dominate the room. And you got to know how to talk to those types.
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't want to get into all that because we talk about that at how we engage, how you engage with your clientele. You got to know their personalities.
I think, how to build social awareness. The first thing is practice active listening. I think that's an area that we've all are influenced. We're looking for a response, to give a response before they've even finished their dialogue. Instead of just listening and then regurgitate, did I hear this correctly, or do I have a better, or could you clarify this or that? But if we're not listening, we can't come back and ask those questions.
And that is so true, Tom. Listening's the key. Even though I'm on the phone, I make it a point to say, and there's a note here, be quiet. Ask one or two questions and then listen, and just let them talk.
And going back to what we were talking about, when you're using devices and computers and texting and messaging and all that, or even a video,
right?
Are you really observing nonverbal cues? Body language is so important to understand.
Yeah.
Who's that guy that does that? He was on stage when the attempted shooting was going on. Oz, his name is. He does mind-blowing, reading your mind type stuff.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to remember his name.
I saw him in a brief little explaining.
Is he not an entertainer? Am I missing something here?
Well, he does it with sports teams and whatever. But he's able to. People say he can read people's mind. He's actually reading body language. It tells him that So our body is telling. We're picking up right now. People are picking up on my body language, my hand movements, my facial expressions. Tilting of my head. How do I respond to the questions asked me? Do my eyebrows go up, or do I?
Right.
Whatever. Body language is so important. Matter of fact, when I was in college, criminology, peace, and police science, we had a whole course on body language and determine whether somebody's telling you the truth or not. Just which ways their eyeballs go when you ask the question. When you confront them, how do they respond? I don't recall it all, but it was pretty accurate. So we're talking to people all the time besides what's coming out of our lips, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's just about everything that we do. Like I said, when you step on a baseball field and you're going to call a game with another guy, you are being watched, and they are watching every little thing about you. Whether you like it or not, man, they're checking you out, how you handle things, remarks, comments. I
like this one. Show curiosity. Ask questions to understand others' viewpoints rather than immediately judging them.
Right.
And I understand this. Ask questions. If you want to know something, Mark, if I ask you a question, you're immediately going to start in your mind responding immediately through body language or something verbal. Just like right now, Mark, what time is it?
It is 6:33.
See,
here, Eastern time.
You're going to answer my questions. I mean, when we ask a question, we respond. He could have just said, I'm not listening to that question and move on, right?
Right.
People are going to answer questions. So curiosity shows, again, do you see me? Do you hear me? And do you care? And I think that's important in sales and business development, team building, and organization skills. Is some of the things you're talking about? Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you just the more I'm so grateful to be here because I've lost some friends this year. They're no longer on the planet, and each day is a blessing. And I do have my health. I'm very grateful for it, and I try and be, as my son says, socially aware. But I listen to other people and what they have to say. When I'm engaged with other people, there's always one or two though in the crowd that want to out talk me, and I'm not trying to do. I just want to, like, I'll ask you a question and someone else will jump in and try and answer for you. And I hate doing this, but I've been known to say, "Excuse me, but could you allow Tom to answer that question because it was directed to him? Thank you." Some people get offended when you do that, and I've even done it on a social level. Maybe that's what my son means, but I'm sorry. I don't like when others interrupt. It's not good.
No, that's not going back to that skill of listening, active
Right.
listening.
And if I was going to talk to you, Tom, about Bob Proctor, and someone else jumped in, oh yeah, I know her. No. Did you go through the program? Just hold that thought. Don't change the channel. Just put it on mute, and let's let Tom, explain what he went through, and when he went through that process, that particular program, and who he was around, and how Bob teaches, and I'd like to know that, so I don't want someone else jumping in. And that for me sometimes really, I struggle with that, on a social level in particular, because my wife teases me all the time. Because when we go to church and there's a bunch of Greeks around there, they all like to talk, and so I stay really kind of quiet. You wouldn't even know me sometimes. You'd probably go, "Oh my God, is that Mark?" I'm just observing and watching, and my wife goes, "I know what you're doing," but I can't help myself. It's just funny to hear people.
I'm going to go back to what you said there, Bob Proctor. One thing I learned: how to diffuse a negative or a conflict.
Right.
Real simple. You acknowledge first.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing. That's interesting.
Yes.
And then you move on. You just disarmed that entire conflict. It goes back to, do you hear me? Do you see me? And do you care? But you don't have to get in a wrestling match about it, or a verbal fight over it, or even a personal thing about it. Usually when you have a conflict, you say, "Mark, that's really interesting. Thank you for sharing."
Right.
The conflict is over. You have nothing to do at that point.
Yeah,
that was such a powerful thing that I learned from him. That
absolutely.
I didn't
mean to interrupt you, but I've even done that on a call, and I'll say, I'm sorry, that call totally sucked, but it's better to show up and suck and not show up at all. And we all had a good laugh about it. Like, well, hey, could you explain that? What you really do offer? And everybody's guard was down. We had a good chuckle about it, but a lot of times I'll beat myself up, and it's okay. Because I don't take myself too serious anymore. I can't. If you want entertainment, watch the news. I mean, I just laugh at the crap that's up there from these networks, and some people swallow it, hook, line, and sinker. They don't think. And that's one thing I was going to add, Tom. Thinking, like, what you're telling me, how you're communicating to me. I'm thinking about what and how you're telling me, like if it was about Bob Proctor, and I'm getting a good read or a vibe on, what you're about, what makes you tick, as you keep talking to me and explaining to me, So it's pretty easy if you just, like you said, you're actively listening, not, when Tom gets done, I'm going to talk about this, or I'm going to ask this question. No, really listen to what they're telling you.
Yeah. Acknowledge
it. A lot of times, like you said, I'll say, well, hey, Tom, what do you mean that comment there? And then I'm not, defensive, or I'm not going to be assertive and try and attack you. Just could you explain what you meant there, just so I understand?
Yeah.
And I think there is a lost art form, because there are some folks that want to create their own agenda, and you either agree with me, and if you don't, then you're out of here. That's not a good environment to be a member of.
Put this thing down in your communications with people, or if you're in your business and sales, get on the phone, meet them in person.
Yeah, and the other thing I just wanted to share, and you guys, I sent them here, Clifton Strengths Assessment, Gallup Poll Analytics. I had to take this, most of my concepts, and it you can probably see some of it, but I'm just showing you to. You can go to there on that website, but it lists 34 of your strengths. So my top 5 were individualization, restorative, connectedness, positivity, and developer. Now the other 6 through 10 were belief, achiever, responsibility, learner, and futuristic. So, and it lists in order, like, all the way to 34 where you're at on the Richter scale. The beauty of that is if you're in an organization, everybody knows, like Tom has his top 5, I have my top 5. Then you figure out a way how to work together on a project, or, it could be approaching an account. And then the next level, if your clientele partake of this, now you know where they're coming from. And it's kind of cool. And what you're doing is you're building on your strengths. You're not ripping people down. Like, when you go in the military, that's the first thing they do, is they rip you down, man, so they can build you up in that environment. And I don't make fun of that. They have to do it that way because of what you're involved in. Totally understand that.
Sure.
This approach is like, hey, let's take your top 5 strengths and let's take that to the next level. And as you go on, yeah, you look at some of your other areas where they're not in your top 5 or top 10, and say, hey, what can I do to get better at this or that? And just a thought.
That social awareness is a skill that develops through experience and conscious effort,
Right.
often considered to be a crucial part of social and emotional learning.
Right.
It's like anything. If you're going to learn how to hit a baseball, you got to get in the batter's box, right? You got to have a bat in your hand. And you got to take a swing. If you don't take a swing, you're not going to even think about hitting the ball. So It's all about, anything in life is taking action. You're going to learn from it.
I think I shared with you, Tom, this guy, he's on social media, and his son, I think, even made it to the major leagues. His name is Coach Mark. I'm not going to belabor the point, but he talked about that very same thing that you're talking about, travel teams. And there's a big push or anti-push on travel teams, the good, bad, the indifferent, other than you cut a check and off you are to the races. For travel, some travel teams are for select individuals. But what he talked about was they only had 2 practices, and they worked on various team skill sets. These kids themselves worked on individual skill sets, where it's hitting a ball off a tee, how to field a ground ball, and I could go on and on and on. Bottom line is they would go out and play top tiered teams, and they would wind up, like 500. Say if they played 4 games, won 2, lost 2, which is good because they're playing at a very high level. And he was just talking about, putting in the work and what it takes, what you got to do, which I hear my son all the time talk about this now with football, since they just had their spring game. And I know it didn't possibly turn out the way, or probably didn't turn out the way he wanted to. However, there were good things and there were bad things. So then you go
each thing and determine, what did you learn from it? What could we get better at? What could I do differently?
Right. Absolutely.
And not beat yourself up around it.
Well, it's collective, but our society, we want a winner and we want it right away, particularly in the art of football here in SEC country. And they'll give a guy a year and that's it. There ain't no more, I'm going to build a program. Which, by the way, I think Bear Bryant could still compete with all of them. I'm not a big Roll Tide fan, but I always did like him. Even Saban, those guys, I think even today could compete. It's just so different now with the NIL, and everybody wants it now and right away. Instant gratification is what I call it. Point, click, and here we go. We get the players, and then we win. And that's not always the case.
No. You got a lot of teams out there that don't have the strongest, fastest athletes, but they, at the end of the game,
right,
they're on the W side, right?
Right.
You say, how did that happen?
But I just wanted to share that Clifton Strengths assessment, and
Sure.
And if anybody out there, and I'll put the link in here, if you ever want to check out what we do offer, and these are a lot of these are, we even have a podcast. It's called Sales Blasphemy. You can check that out. It's free content. You can go on there and check it out. But if you go to salesconcepts.com, all these things that I put up here, you'll find. And, they're tools that they're tailored. We tailor it for your industry, your people, and your clientele. And that's how we approach it. And some of these things that, Tom, you were mentioning about, these are the very things we get into. What's working, what isn't, what about this? We have things even on forecasting. We have things on leadership for salespeople. You have to be a leader if you're a salesperson. You got to be able to manage yourself. How are you going to manage others, much less a potential customer or client? So you got to know what to do and how to approach it. And those things are important.
If anyone wants to contact you about what you're talking about, I put up your email there, scrolling across the bottom, Mark.
Sure. And if you want, you can put my up there. You can put M. Gassard at salesconcepts.com. But if you hit me here, I'll send you anything you want to know about. And half the stuff I'll send you is free. You can do with it what you want, or say, hey, you know what? I didn't realize some of the stuff that Gassard was talking about makes sense. He's not full of crap. But and I didn't come up with all this. The beauty of it is we've got people that I call them master trainers, man, because they take the content and they apply it in today's marketplace. And that's what people like what we do. It's not from a book. We're not reading it. We're not going to AI to the nth degree and coming up with things. We're using AI as a tool, but these things, we're looking at your business and what you're trying to develop.
Yeah, so I think what we're talking about here is, no matter what, through my own experience, if you want to get better, keep learning.
Yeah.
Keep learning. If you think you know it all already, I don't need that. My team doesn't need that. You're wrong. We all need it. We all need to have something maybe brought to our attention. A different perspective on something you've been taught a long time ago. So, in sales and business development, it's all about learning and then applying and refining what you learn. And if you're not learning, you're dying.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Bob Proctor was a great one. You got to continue. If you're going to change yourself, keep learning about yourself.
Hey, Tom, now this is my copy. It's kind of beat up, but I know he wore his out, and you see the book, don't you?
Think and Grow Rich. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, he read that thing every day. I mean, that dude was like trying to master that book.
Well, he did. And
I know, but it's just kind of funny. He'd been teaching all these years and his book was falling apart, and he'd read a page or two. And I mean, he didn't read it, man. He was like honing in on what it had to say, and how can I apply this? How can I get other people to apply this so they can help themselves? And
Yeah.
how do I get this message across? And
Yeah, he was a master of understanding how our subconscious mind worked. And through changing habits, no matter what they are, it's only through repetition of a new habit are you going to ever push that
Right.
old habit out of the way. Just quit drinking. You got to create a habit of not drinking. So that's plain and simple. You get that habit down, you're not going to drink. But you got to have a why behind all that as well, a purpose. Why do you want to stop drinking? Why do you want to make a sale? Why do you, the why, the personal, emotional attachment to the
Right.
thought. That's one of the great things is our subconscious mind has been programmed. How we view the world, how we respond and react to what's going on around us, how we listen, who we listen to, why we listen to what we listen to. If we start understanding those things and ask that question, why,
Oh, yeah.
you'll learn. So your success about social awareness is study yourself, because you are part of the social experiment. You are part of society. You are an intricate part of it. And your world that you have created, people say you've created your own environment.
Yes.
I mean, you hear there's circumstances that come up out of your control, but how you respond to it determines the outcome that's going to come as well. So,
Hey, Tom, can I ask you a question? When you
sure.
started out in your business, did you ever fail? Did you think man, this ain't going to work? And why am I doing this? Did you ever go
Many times failed more than I won, but the outcome is what you're looking for.
Right.
Is it fulfilling your why, your purpose? Are you making somebody else's life better besides just yours? Those things are grounded in you, the driving force, the stick-to-itiveness, the discipline necessary to succeed. Now, have I ever been a big hitter? Some of these people that quote, I'm a multi-millionaire or billionaire or whatever. No. But in relationship to how most people operate, my life has been been very successful in the terms of normal culture.
Right.
So, when we talk about becoming a 5%er or a 10%er economically, I've done that, top 5% earner, net worth and all those type of things. Not to brag, but it's just say,
right.
Yeah, I've had success. But it was discipline. It was sacrificing. It was understanding the end goal and what it was going to take to get there. Step by step. Not having to hit the home run every day. You can play small ball to win the game as well, right, Mark? In baseball?
Absolutely.
More games are won with small balls.
That's a lost
More
art.
games are won by errors than probably you beating the other team, right? The other team beating themselves, being at the right place at the right time.
Yes. And the thing is, since you brought up baseball, today's game is about the power game, the power pitchers, the power hitters. There really is no more small ball. Although every now and then a team will surprise you and implement it, but for the most part, it's about entertainment, and unfortunately, that's how it is. Because things change, they evolve. Because athletes today are bigger, faster, stronger. There's no two ways about it.
Well, I'm going to tout my local team, the Milwaukee Brewers. They're a small ball team. They'll bunt. They'll.
You're right. They do. I said there's some teams out there that'll still implement it, but yeah,
they beat the Yankees 3 games in a row, and that's a pretty big deal. They smacked them up pretty good the first game, and then they come back and won bottom of the 10th, the second game, and then won at the bottom of the ninth, the third game. And it was all staying in the game of small ball. Yeah, it was a walk-off home run that won yesterday's game, but it was all small ball. which I enjoy watching in baseball. People stealing
Right.
bases and advancing runners with sacrifice flies and et cetera, et cetera. So, but anyway, there's a team. I think they've got some key injuries, like a lot of teams do, but
Right.
they've got a nucleus of small ball players that you're going to wonder how did we lose? How did we lose that game?
Right.
No one hit a home run against us, right?
Right.
And yeah, it's all about your belief system. So hey, we've hit the top of the hour here, my friend.
I know it went by quick. I was just going to say, if anybody wants to, I did put it up there at the top about tailor your message to other people's needs styles by communicating through the lens of Clifton strengths. Go check that out. It would behoove you rather, and figure out, and it'll tell you what your 35. There you go. It'll tell you what your 34 results are and what your top 5 are. I believe it costs like $40 or $50 to take it. We took it as a group in our organization, but kind of a neat thing. And like I said,
similar to Myers-Briggs or some of those other
something of that nature.
Okay.
And what's cool about it is this tool is analogous to AI. So I can go in there and say, how should I approach Tom Ginn and his organization with my 5 core strengths and list them, and it will give me ideas, how to approach it. So I put my best foot forward initially. And then once I get to know you, come back and say, okay, Tom is assertive. Another guy is animated. Another guy is, I don't know. We could say whatever. I don't want to get into all that, but I'll bore you. But and then hone it in to the next level. So, just food for thought out there.
Yeah. I just want to take this moment of time here just for a second and just say thank you for all those that have jumped in. Take some time to tag and share this with other people. We never know how it's what we may have said something that was profound to somebody else, mundane to somebody else, but everybody has an opportunity to learn.
Sure.
And we just ask you to share this out. Never know where it's going to land, how it's going to impact somebody's life. So that's what we're about. Anything else you want to say before we?
That's pretty much it, Tom. That's just a couple of things I have. Hopefully, I'm working on this social awareness. I think my son and I have a difference of opinion on what's being socially aware. I think he wants me to always stay in the 21st century and beyond. He doesn't like when I digress back to maybe the 70s or 80s or even 90s. And I understand that. But there were some good things that happened back in those times. And,
sure.
Not so good things and things you can learn from.
Exactly.
But, who knows where we go from here. But I thought that was interesting. So now I'm going to ask my son and to verify that is it Gen, since you're a Gen Zer, is this like Gen Alpha that you're teaching right now? And it's fun to hear him talk about like players or students, how they approach things. And I don't want to say the lack of learning, but you held it up and I'll hold mine up. They need one of these so bad. Sometimes they can't even do simple math or multiplication. Some of them, It's because they grew up with the technology at their fingertip.
Yeah,
and not understanding why or how. It's just, I do this and that. Yeah, I get that. And if you said critical thinking, break it down, ain't gonna happen for some.
Well said, my friend. I'm glad we were able to come on today, and I had no idea where it would go, but I think we, some pretty good ideas.
I think we covered the gamut. I hope I didn't rant. I tried not to, but I always love hearing your perspective because you're to me, you're the business guy, and you've been through a lot of different programs and platforms out there. Hey man, I remember A.L. Williams when I first moved here in 1984 because someone approached me about it, and I'm not
Yeah,
making fun of it, but I do remember that. And
yeah,
that guy was a football coach.
a football coach, Georgia, in
Yeah,
Georgia.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and he trained his teams, which I was one of his vice presidents, of many, not just a handful, but of many. I earned that position by building a successful organization, hitting the numbers, helping other people succeed, those type of things.
Right.
Today, it is Primerica. Just
Absolutely.
basically common
I was
sense.
just
He
gonna
wrote
say,
the book called Common Sense.
right.
Don't spend more than you make, understand the products you buy, make decisions based on knowledge, not on a sales pitch, know your numbers, those type of things. The myths about insurance, myths about savings, myths about finances. He taught all that stuff to us. And if you apply them to yourself, I mean, that's the greatest part
Right.
of the success that I got from A.L. Williams. I learned those principles early, applied them, and got to me where I'm at. It wasn't the fact that I just built this huge, massive organization that got me there.
Mhm.
It was my own personal um, implementation of those ideas that I was teaching other people. I
Right.
still getting emails from the past old customers. Thank you, Tom. I've retired. If it wasn't for you bringing some XYZ information to me, I wouldn't be here today. That's
Right.
the greatest. That's the greatest reward.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but
Absolutely.
anyway, let's wrap it up. Enough
You
about
got it,
us.
sir. Hey, I just want to say thank you, everybody. Those that did make a comment, like Wes and Eric Bam. You're not
Robert.
socially awkward. Robert, of course. We ought to play "Oh Canada" when he comes on. But Robert's a cool dude. I like him.
Okay. Let me see if I can find O Canada.
No, you don't have to do it, man. I'm just teasing. Tom's gonna probably search here. I'll be on here much longer, but
Get
no.
some AI going. Get some Gemini going here.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, we are done, my friend.
Oh, that sounds
Everybody
like
have a
the
wonderful
Tom
evening, and we thank everybody.
showed, man.
Thank you, everybody.
They are getting the hook, Tom, and telling us you geezers have to get off the air now.